back in April, I went down to Utah to try out for Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition. And during the really quick rapid fire interview at the beginning, my story just kind of, it came out without me thinking about it. They asked me why I wanted to lose weight, and I broke down in tears, and I told them about my husband and everything that I wanted to do, and something in that caught their attention, and I made it to the next round. And I guess I did really well in that interview because I made it to the third round. And in that third round, I had to fill out background checks, and I had to fill out paperwork about who I was and what I had done in my life and where I had been and things I might have done wrong and just everything that they needed to know. And then I had to make a video of my life and why I am the way I am. And then I had to write a letter to Chris asking for help. Chris is the personal trainer on the show. And I thought that I had done an amazing job. I mean, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I was open and honest, and I told the truth about my whole life, and I cried every day while I was writing it. But I thought it summed up who I was completely. So I sent it in thinking, this is it, I'm gonna get it, I did a good job, they're gonna definitely pick me for the show. And then the 25th of May came around when they were supposed to announce the finalists, and I didn't get a phone call. And it was crushing. I can remember thinking that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't pretty enough, pretty fat, pretty, whatever, for the show, that my story wasn't intriguing enough, that maybe I didn't even have a story to tell. I don't know. And here we are, July 8th, and I'm just now coming to terms with the idea that, you know, my show wouldn't have been maybe the most captivating, or my story wasn't, you know, what they were looking for ratings, but I do have a story to tell. I do have experiences that might help somebody else, and recognizing that for myself will help me in the future. So I wanted to share the letter that I wrote to the trainer with you guys, and then I guess the rest of my life with me taking charge begins. So I apologize now if I start crying. I get kind of, I know, my face turns all red, but here we go. Chris, I grew up in a very loving home. It was just my mom, my dad, and I, but there was always one other constant in our house: food. It represented togetherness and love. It was comfort and support. It was there when you were bored or when you were celebrating. As a child, my father and his family were poor, so he knew what it was like to struggle to get a meal on the table. As an adult, he refused to ever let me know the same feeling, so he showed his love for me and my mom through food, and unfortunately it was all greasy, fatty, and unhealthy. His heart was in the right place, but it just sent me all the wrong messages growing up. My dad's deft hand at unhealthy food started my lifelong struggle with my weight. By 3rd or 4th grade, I was constantly being teased and bullied for my weight. It started out small with laughing and pointing, but soon escalated into being shoved, chased, and tripped down the stairs. I even had my lunchbox stolen a few times and my food peed on just for laughs. Names like Free Willy, Shamu, and Wide Load were common everyday things that I would hear in the hallways. Through all of this, I never told my parents, not because I didn't think it would help, but because I was ashamed. I was ashamed that it was my body that was the reason for all this happening. After school, I would come home and hide in my bedroom closet, crying until I didn't have any more tears to shed. Then I would turn to whatever food was available in the kitchen to comfort my soul. In the years between 3rd and 5th grade, I taught myself how to self-medicate with chips and chocolate. When I started 6th grade, it was also when I started a new school in a new state. It was a shock to the system to be new and have a fresh start, but I was still fat and I was defensive and damaged from the last few years of being bullied. I had no friends and spent most of my time alone. A teacher suggested that I try out for the school basketball team to make some friends. I had never played a sport, but I liked the idea of joining something, and I wanted to be brave enough to try. It was, by far, the best decision I could have ever made. I made friends and learned the value of sportsmanship, competing, and striving to better yourself. I was in the gym every night, 5 days a week, running up and down the court with my team. But at home, I was still eating the same high-calorie foods that I had grown up on and continued to gain weight. High school was a battle. At 225 pounds, my weight made me a pariah in the eyes of any cute boy that I may have had a crush on, but my personality gained me popularity. My history teacher started a powerlifting team at the school during my senior year. All of the boys, especially the football team, thought it was a cool idea, while most of all the girls had no interest in it at all. I say almost because I was the only girl in my whole school to join. It was like finally finding home. Inside that small, stinky weight room, I wasn't the fat girl. Heck, I don't think I was even looked at as a girl. I was just part of the team. I kept up with all the boys, lifting, squatting, and pressing anything available. Near the end of my senior year, I went with my coach and a handful of the guys on the team to a state lifting competition where I placed. In my almost 30 years of life, that moment still remains one of my happiest. After high school, I got a job where I met the man that I would eventually marry. Stephen was in the Air Force, and he was up in Montana on leave visiting his family. I had finally found somebody that didn't see a girl that weighed 250 pounds, but someone worth loving. Our romance was a whirlwind, and we were engaged after a month of dating. Married life was wonderful. I was happy and content with all that I had been given, and then God blessed us with our son Caleb. In 2003, I had a strong and healthy man that loved me and a child that I was over the moon for. In the summer of 2005, all of that changed. My husband and son were on their way to the car wash when a plumbing utility truck ran a red light at 60 miles an hour. It struck on the driver's side near the door, and the force of the impact sent the car my family was in spinning across multiple lanes of traffic. That single moment changed all of our lives forever. Our son was lucky enough to escape with only a few scratches, but my husband wasn't as fortunate. His spine took most of the impact, and 3 of his vertebrae were ruptured along with severe nerve damage. A few operations later, the ruptures were semi-repaired, but the nerve damage was irreversible. His chances for having a long military career were also destroyed. With injuries like his, you just can't do the job that he had been trained for. I had to sit by helplessly and watch the man that I love grieve for the loss of his body, the loss of his dream job, and for the painful prognosis the doctors had given him. Feelings of being completely powerless made me search for my own sources of comfort, and I found it in food. The problem is that after caring for and worrying about Stephen all day, every day, and raising our son, I'm physically and emotionally exhausted. At some point in the last few years, I have stopped caring about myself and gave up on my own health to care for those around me. In the 8 years since his accident, I have gained almost 130 pounds, topping out at 378 pounds. I love my husband and will be his good legs and physically move him by myself for as long as he needs. But right now, my weight makes it almost impossible. I'm scared that if I don't start caring more about myself, I'm not going to be there to care for my husband and son in 10 to 15 years. Chris, I swear that I have the drive and desire to lose this weight for good, but with all the stress and worry in my life right now, I don't have the strength to concentrate on myself. I still hear the teasing, the taunting, and the jokes that were made about me whenever I try to exercise, and it keeps me from sticking with it for very long. I need you to replace those voices until I can learn to do it for myself. I need someone who will come in and make me a priority. I need someone that will show me that I'm worth spending time on and who will support me along the way. Please be that person. I'm tired of using my fat and my size as an excuse for not living my life to the fullest. For a very long time, I have not wanted anything for myself, but I have been too busy being a wife and mother. But I want and need this with every fiber of my being. Please come and help me change my life around. Sincerely, Catherine Thomas. If you made it to this part of the video, thank you. The first 10 minutes I know can be a bit long, especially when it's filled with an emotional girl crying. But introducing myself to the Ridge and all of its members didn't seem right without showing you where I was, where I started, and yeah, that was my past. It still is, and if I'm going to be honest about all of this, I've got to show every part of it. So it's now 2015, and things are different. I mean, they really are. I moved to Bozeman 8 months ago. I joined the Ridge a little over a month ago, and I have lost 22.2 pounds. And I have worked my butt off for every point of every pound that I have shed off my body. And I feel amazing. And even better, I have hope that this isn't something temporary like it's been in the past, that this is only the beginning of an amazing future that I'm creating for myself. So, along with the Ridge, I'm going to be documenting every step, every struggle, every mishap, and every single victory that I have along the way. And I really hope that along the way I can inspire somebody else to take the steps to make the changes that I'm changing about myself, because it really is worth all the heartache and the struggles in the morning. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. So if you are interested in following me and what I'm doing, there is going to be a link below that you can follow my blog. And if you see me in the Ridge, please stop by and say hi. I want to meet all of the Ridge members, so because it really does feel like a family to me so far. So I will see you around, and have a good workout because I'm about to go get mine.